I never thought I'd be that guy, the guy who finds out his wife's been cheating, especially not over something so public and humiliating. Laura and I had been together for 8 years, married for 5, and honestly, I always thought we had a pretty solid life. She was a little bitchy sometimes, sure, but I figured that was just her personality. She was the type who'd snap at me over something minor, call me an idiot when I forgot to take out the trash, and then act like nothing happened. That's just how she was, demanding, sarcastic, with a sharp tongue. But I never expected that behind her bitchy veneer, she had this whole other side. We live in a pretty nice neighborhood, middle-class suburb, quiet streets, kids playing outside, the usual. We've got a good house, good neighbors, and I worked hard to build that life. I was the one who always kept things smooth, organized, and secure. Laura, on the other hand, was the one who liked to stir the pot, make jokes at my expense, and keep things interesting. Still, I trusted her. Maybe too much. I mean, I always knew she was a little ambitious, a little flirtatious sometimes, but I brushed it off as just her personality. She'd get annoyed if I even looked at another woman, but I figured that was just her insecurities talking. Things started feeling off about 6 months ago. She'd come home late from work more often, claiming she was working late or had meetings. That was odd because she usually hated working late or doing anything remotely involving her job. She was pretty transparent most of the time. If she was on her phone, she'd hide the screen or quickly close the app if I walked in. But this was different. She started being more secretive. Her phone was glued to her hand, and she'd get defensive if I asked who she was texting. She'd snap at me when I'd ask about her day, cut me off mid-sentence, and sometimes go quiet for hours, then brush it off like I was imagining things. I remember one night, I noticed her phone was left on the counter while she was in the shower. I picked it up to check her messages. Nothing explicit, just some work-related stuff, I guess. But then I saw a text from someone named Mike that was suspiciously flirty. It wasn't necessarily a big deal at first, just some casual banter, but the way she handled it. She lied to my face, said she didn't know anyone named Mike, and then when I pressed her, she said she was just talking about the neighborhood pool party. That was weird because she doesn't even like talking about neighborhood stuff. She's not into small talk with the neighbors like that. It felt like she was hiding something. The next few weeks, I started paying more attention. There were little things. Her phone going off at odd hours, her being overly defensive when I asked about her plans, and her avoiding me at night. I'd catch her lying about where she was going or who she was with. I didn't want to believe it, but I had this growing suspicion that she was cheating. I didn't have proof yet, but something was definitely going on. And then one afternoon, I saw her in the backyard talking to Mark, our neighbor, who I knew had a wife, Lisa, who was obviously sick and going through cancer treatments. That was a tough time for her, and I'd been helping her out, driving her to appointments, bringing over dinners. The usual neighborly stuff. And that's where everything clicked. I saw Laura in the pool house and she wasn't alone. She was with Mark, the guy everyone in the neighborhood knew about because his wife Lisa was very sick. I watched from behind the fence, heart pounding, as I saw her kiss him. Not just a little peck on the cheek, but a full-on, deep kiss. I couldn't believe my eyes. My mind was racing. How long had this been going on? How did I not see it? How could she do this to me, to Lisa, especially knowing what she was going through? I was stunned, frozen there, watching her with this bastard. That moment, seeing her with him, felt like I'd been kicked in the stomach, like my entire world just turned upside down in an instant. She saw me then. I think she saw me because her face went pale, her eyes widened, and she immediately pulled away from Mark. She tried to play it off, pretending she was just fixing something in the pool house, but it was too late. I saw everything, the way she looked at him, the secret meetings, the lies, the betrayal. That was the moment I knew I had to confront her. I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I had to know why she did it, what she was thinking, how long this had been going on. I stormed over, my heart pounding so loud I thought I might pass out. She tried to deny it, of course, called me crazy, said I was overreacting, that I was paranoid. But I knew better. I'd seen enough. My mind was racing with anger, heartbreak, and confusion all at once. I confronted her right there in the backyard, and honestly, I was a mess. My voice was trembling, my hands clenched into fists, and I could barely keep my eyes from tearing up. I asked her point blank if she'd been sleeping with Mark, if she'd been sneaking around behind my back all this time. That bitchy, sharp attitude she usually saved for me during her moments of annoyance. It was gone. Instead, she looked at me like I'd just accused her of murder. "You're crazy," she snapped, crossing her arms. "I don't know what you saw, but you're imagining things. Mark, please, we're neighbors, that's all, just talking casual. You're overreacting because you're insecure." Her words hit like a slap. I couldn't believe she'd lie so damn effortlessly, like she was convincing herself of her own bullshit. I knew her better than that. I saw the way she avoided eye contact, how her voice cracked when she tried to deny it. After everything I'd done for her, helping her with her career, standing by her during her bitchy fits, she was out there kissing him. I felt this mix of rage and heartbreak I'd never experienced before. I told her I'd seen enough and that I wasn't going to sit around and be played for a fool. That's when she got defensive, started throwing out all kinds of bullshit excuses, how she was under stress, how Mark was just a friend, how I was imagining things because I didn't trust her anymore. She screamed at me, told me I was being paranoid, that I was pushing her away with my accusations. She turned it around and made me feel like I was the one who was losing my mind. But I knew better. I'd caught her red-handed, and nothing she said could erase that image of her lips pressed to Mark's. The worst part, the betrayal, wasn't just that she cheated. It was that she lied so effortlessly, like she was trying to gaslight me into questioning my own perception. I'd been loyal, I'd been patient, and she had been sneaking around, kissing him in the pool house behind my back during a neighborhood barbecue, our own block party that I'd spent days organizing. Imagine that, the one day I wanted to bring everyone together, and she was out there with him, betraying me in the worst way possible. I swear I felt my stomach turn as I watched her turn her head and lie through her teeth. After a long, painful argument that felt like it went on forever, I told her she needed to leave. I couldn't stand to look at her anymore, not at that moment. She stormed off into the house, still denying everything, calling me crazy and insecure and saying I didn't understand her. I stood there in the yard, heart pounding, mind racing. I didn't sleep that night. No, I just sat there, staring at the dark window, trying to process what I'd just found out. The woman I'd trusted, the woman I'd loved, she'd been cheating on me with Mark, our neighbor, right under my nose. I kept replaying everything in my mind. The late nights, her secretive attitude, the way she'd flirt with Mark at that barbecue, the subtle hints I missed. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious all at once. How could she do this? After everything I'd ever done for her, she had to go and throw it all away with some neighbor's dick. It was like my entire life was crumbling in that moment. I honestly didn't know what to do. The raw, gnawing anger was just starting to settle in, and I knew I couldn't fix this overnight. But one thing was clear. I wasn't going to let her get away with it without consequences. The next morning, everything felt like a blur. I woke up with a pounding head and a sick knot in my stomach. The house was eerily silent, like the walls were holding their breath, waiting for some kind of explosion. I spent hours just sitting on the couch, staring at nothing, replaying everything over and over. Part of me wanted to call her, to demand answers, to scream at her for what she'd done. But I knew that wouldn't get me anywhere. She lied to me before, and I doubted anything she said now would be truthful. I decided I needed to get some clarity, so I started digging through her things, her phone, her emails, her social media. I wasn't proud of it, but I couldn't just sit around and get played. I found more than I bargained for. Texts, pictures, secret messages, all evidence that she'd been sneaking around with Mark for months. It wasn't just a one-time thing, it was a full-blown affair. There were flirtatious messages, plans to meet up, even pictures of her in the pool house, half-dressed with him. My stomach twisted as I looked at them. I saw her in a way I never had before, completely unguarded, completely unfaithful. The worst part was realizing how much she'd lied to my face. She'd always called me paranoid when I'd brought up her secretive behavior. She told me there was nothing going on, that I was just imagining things because I was insecure. But now, looking at all this proof, I knew she'd been lying the entire time. She'd been hiding her affair behind a mask of bitchy sarcasm, pretending everything was fine while she was out there kissing her neighbor and probably fucking him too. I wasn't sure what to do next. Part of me wanted to confront her again, to yell and scream until she broke down and admitted everything. But I knew that wouldn't help. I needed a plan. I couldn't just blow this up without thinking. I wanted her to feel the pain, the humiliation, just like I was feeling. I had to think about how to do that, how to make her pay for all the lies and betrayal. I decided I'd keep quiet for now, gather more evidence, and then hit her with everything at once. In the meantime, I started planning my next move. I couldn't keep living in this state of chaos. The house, which once felt like our sanctuary, now felt like a prison. I couldn't stand the thought of her sneaking around behind my back, pretending to be the perfect wife. I knew I had to get out of this mess, but I didn't want to do something reckless. Still, I also didn't want to let her think she'd gotten away with it. I was angry, yes, but I was also hurt, and that hurt started turning into something darker. Desire for revenge. That night I sat in the dark, thinking about the best way to handle her. I knew she'd lie her way out of it again, try to manipulate the situation, maybe even turn it around on me. So I decided I'd need to be clever. I'd catch her in the act again, but this time I'd record it. I'd get undeniable proof, something she couldn't deny or spin her way out of. I'd put an end to her lies once and for all. I couldn't let her keep pretending like everything was okay when I knew she'd been screwing our neighbor in the pool house during our neighborhood barbecue, our own damn block party that I'd spent weeks organizing. The betrayal cut deep, but what hurt even more was feeling so powerless. I'd always been the steady one, the dependable guy who kept everything together. But now, I was just a guy broken in half, trying to figure out how to take back control. I knew I couldn't trust her anymore, and I knew that, if I wanted to move forward, I'd have to do it on my own terms. It was going to be ugly, but at least I'd finally have the truth, and that at the end of the day was all I really needed to start rebuilding myself. The plan started forming in my mind, crystal clear but dangerous. I couldn't just confront her again and hope she'd crack. She was too good at lying, too practiced at spinning her stories. I needed something concrete. I decided I'd set up a hidden camera, something unobtrusive in the pool house where I'd seen her with Mark. I wanted irrefutable proof, something that would leave no room for her to deny or manipulate her way out of. I spent the following days researching the best hidden cameras, ordering the smallest, most discreet device I could find. It wasn't about spying out of malice. It was about justice, about seeing her true face when she thought she was alone. In the meantime, I kept my distance, pretending everything was normal while I carefully collected evidence. I made a show of going about my daily routine, acting as if I was unaware of her sneaky behavior. I even started inviting some of the neighbors over, including Mark, more openly, trying to gauge her reactions. But I kept the camera hidden in the pool house, hidden behind a loose panel I'd rigged earlier. It felt like walking a tightrope, one wrong move and everything could blow up in my face. But I knew I had to do this if I wanted closure. One evening, just as the sun was setting, I set up the camera and left it running in the pool house. I felt a strange mixture of nervousness and satisfaction. I was finally taking control of the situation. Then I waited. I stayed up late, my stomach in knots, eyes glued to my phone or the camera feed. And what I saw that night confirmed everything I suspected. She was back in the pool house with Mark. They were kissing again, deeper this time, hands all over each other. They didn't even bother to hide it. She was lying, scheming, betraying me right under my nose, thinking she was smarter than everyone else. Watching her on that footage was like hearing a death sentence. The anger boiled up in me, hotter than ever. I'd never felt so betrayed, so humiliated. All those nights I'd come home tired, trying to be a good husband, and she'd been out there with him, fucking him, while I thought she was working late or just hanging out with her friends. I could see her letting her guard down, her bitchy attitude replaced by a look of pure lust. The thought that she'd been doing this behind my back during our neighborhood barbecues, in the pool house I'd built for us, it made my stomach churn. I knew I couldn't just sit on this anymore. I had the proof now. The footage didn't lie. I had to face her, but not with words. she'd just deny everything again. I needed to confront her with everything I had. The next day, I got to work on how to do that without losing my mind. I decided I'd wait until she was alone, catch her off guard, and then lay everything out. I'd tell her I knew about Mark, I'd show her the footage, and I'd see what kind of liar she really was. In the meantime, I started thinking about what I really wanted. To be honest, part of me wanted revenge. I wanted her to feel the sting of betrayal like I did. I wanted her to know I knew the truth, and I wasn't going to be her fool anymore. But I also knew that I couldn't stay in this house, in this marriage, if she refused to admit what she'd done. I'd spent years building a life with her, and now it felt like that life was nothing but a house of cards ready to fall. Every glance at her, every word she spoke, felt like a lie. I couldn't trust her, and I didn't want to anymore. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. The lies, the secret meetings, the stolen moments behind my back. I realized I was done pretending to be okay with it. I was sick of her bitchy attitude, her manipulations, the way she'd lie to my face and then blame me for being paranoid. I'd spent years giving her the benefit of the doubt, trying to see the good in her, but now I knew better. She was just a woman who got bored, a woman who cheated and lied, all while trying to keep up her image as the perfect wife. And as I drifted off, I made a silent vow I'd show her she couldn't keep doing this. I'd make her regret ever crossing that line, and I'd take back whatever piece of dignity I had left. The day of reckoning finally arrived. I waited until she left for some meeting she claimed was at work, another excuse I was starting to see right through. I stayed home, nervous but determined. I'd already prepared everything, my phone ready to record, the footage saved on a secure drive, and a plan to confront her calmly but firmly. I didn't want her to think she could manipulate her way out of it again. This was going to be the end of her lies one way or another. When she finally came home, she looked tense, like she knew something was up but didn't want to admit it. I kept my composure, silent, pretending I didn't know. She headed straight for the kitchen, making some coffee, trying to act normal. That's when I calmly told her I knew everything. I told her I had the footage, every kiss, every touch, every secret meeting she'd been hiding. Her face changed instantly, her bitchy attitude replaced with a stunned, guilty look. Then she started with her usual bullshit. "Oh, come on, you're overreacting," she snapped. "It's just sex. It doesn't mean anything. Mark's just a friend. You're being paranoid again." She tried to brush it off, to make me doubt what I'd seen, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I played the video on my phone and her face went pale. She tried to snatch it away, but I held firm. "You lied to my face for months," I said coldly. "You kissed him in our pool house during the block party we organized. You've been screwing him behind my back while I was out helping Lisa with her cancer treatments. How do you explain that?" She stammered, then started throwing out more lies. "I was stressed," she said. "I was feeling neglected. It meant nothing. We're just neighbors, and it was a mistake." She looked me dead in the eyes, her voice dripping with fake remorse, but I saw the truth behind her eyes. She was trying to worm her way out to justify her betrayal. I felt my blood boil. I told her I was done. Done with her lies, her manipulations, her bitchy attitude, and her secret affairs. I said I wanted her to leave, not just for today, but for good. I couldn't trust her anymore. I told her that her actions had destroyed everything we built, and I was done pretending everything was okay. She started crying, but not the kind of tears that show remorse. No, they were crocodile tears, fake, just like her apologies always were. She begged, said she'd change, said she loved me. But I knew better. I'd heard enough of her lies. I told her she could take her bags and get out, that I didn't want her in my house anymore. That I'd be filing for divorce, and I'd be sending the footage to her friends, her family, anyone who needed to see the kind of woman she was, someone who cheated, lied, and used her own husband as some kind of fool. I wanted her gone and out of my life. As she packed her things, she kept crying, screaming that I was overreacting, that I was hurting her, but I didn't care. She made her choices, and now she had to face the consequences. That night I sat alone in the living room, feeling a strange mix of relief and emptiness. The house was eerily quiet without her. Bitchy comments, her sarcastic jokes, her constant nagging. I was finally free from her lies, but I also felt devastated. All those years, all that trust, gone in an instant. I kept replaying the moment I saw her kiss Mark, and it hit me hard. She was never who I thought she was. She was just another cheat, another liar. And I was left to pick up the pieces of a marriage that was never real. Looking back now, I realize I learned a lot about trust and betrayal. Never again will I ignore the little signs, the secretive behavior, or the lies. Because when someone is willing to ruin everything for a moment of pleasure, they're also willing to destroy you in the process. And no matter how much it hurts, I know I'll be okay. It's going to take time, but I'll rebuild. I'll find someone who actually respects me. And I'll never forget the lesson this betrayal taught me: if someone shows you who they are, believe them. In the days that followed, the house felt emptier than ever. The silence was almost deafening, like the walls were mocking me for trusting her so blindly all those years. I couldn't escape the images of her with Mark, her lips pressed to his, her hands grabbing him in the pool house, the way she'd looked at him like he was the only thing that mattered. It replayed in my mind constantly, like a broken record I couldn't turn off. I honestly didn't know how I'd get past it, how I'd restore any sense of normalcy after this betrayal. I spent a lot of time reflecting, trying to piece together how I missed the signs, how I was so blind to her manipulations. In some ways, I felt foolish, like I should have seen it coming. But then I remembered all the times she'd lied, all the little things I'd brushed aside because I loved her. That's what made it hurt so much. The love I'd had for her, the trust I'd given her, all shattered in a single moment. I realized that sometimes people hide their true selves so well that you don't see the cracks until it's too late. Despite everything, I decided I wasn't going to let her win by turning bitter or vindictive. I knew I had to focus on myself now. I started going to the gym, working on my career, and reconnecting with friends I'd neglected. The pain was still there, but each day it got a little easier. I also sought therapy, something I'd never done before, but I knew I needed help processing all this chaos. Talking to someone who wasn't emotionally involved helped me see things more clearly. It reminded me that I deserved better, that I was worth more than someone who could betray me so easily. Looking back, I can say I learned a lot about myself. I learned that love isn't just about trust, it's also about respect and honesty. I learned that some people are just good at hiding who they really are, and that sometimes you need to listen to your gut more than your heart. I also learned that revenge isn't the answer, that the real victory comes from walking away with your dignity intact. I didn't want to be the guy who lost himself in anger or bitterness. I wanted to be someone stronger, someone who could move on and rebuild from the ashes. Now I see the whole ordeal as a brutal but necessary lesson. It's one I won't forget. It's changed me but not broken me. I know there's someone out there who won't lie, won't cheat, and won't betray. I'll find her when the time is right. Until then, I'll keep moving forward, carrying the scars of this betrayal as a reminder of what I don't want in my life. Because at the end of the day, the only person who can truly heal the wounds is me. And I'm determined to do just that.